Hey guys, welcome to Becca and the Balance. I'm Becca, and today we're going to be making soft, delicious cinnamon rolls. We're also going to be making a cream cheese frosting and a glaze, so you can choose which you'd like. These are a great make-ahead item, especially if you guys have guests coming. But before we get started, make sure you hit that subscribe button and like this video down below. Also, I'm over on Instagram day to day with my family, so you can follow along there. And anything I use today is linked in my bio under the shop button. The free cinnamon roll recipe is also linked in my bio. Let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is get our yeast in some warm water to bloom. The best advice I can give to you to help get the perfect temperature for your yeast is just to turn on your tap, let the water run till it's warm to the touch, and then put it in there and add your yeast and sugar. It's fail-proof. I've never had an issue with it. So turn that tap water on and get it to a nice warm temperature. Okay, so there's our half a cup of warm water. Now let's add our sugar and our yeast. So 2 tablespoons of that dry active yeast. I buy yeast in bulk at Sam's Club, and then I freeze it, and then I just fill up this little glass jar that I got from the store forever ago. Whenever it gets empty, I just take it out of the freezer, pour it in there, and then I have more yeast. It's the most cost-effective way to keep yeast on hand. Okay, and now 2 tablespoons of sugar. Baby, do you need something? Okay, we're gonna mix that up. Okay, then cover it and set it aside. Okay, so this next step is really interesting. We're going to take 3.5 ounces box of vanilla pudding, and you're going to mix it with the milk that it's called for. I believe it's usually 2 cups of milk. So you're going to make this as if you're making pudding, only you're going to mix all your ingredients in with it as well. So go ahead and get your vanilla pudding and your 2 cups of milk, and mix those together. Okay, so we're going to mix this in. I'm sure you've made pudding before. It's another one of those things that's very easy to make. This is another actually really good dessert idea. Pudding, you can dress that up in so many different ways. Whipped cream, you could add that chocolate sauce I made just a few days ago with it, and a homemade whipped cream, which I've got a recipe I'm going to share with you on. A really good dessert item that you can have cookies and a whole little bar of yummies that people can add to it. I like simple. So all the recipe that I've been giving to you so far and the recipe that's linked is for one batch of them. I believe we make about 24 of these. I am making, beside the scene here, another batch. I'm making these for our Sunday school group tomorrow. Everybody takes turns bringing in food in the morning on Sundays, and it's my turn, my first time in the rotation. So fingers crossed, because we're here in the South. People know how to cook in the South, so the bar is pretty high. I'm just making one normal batch of cinnamon rolls, and then I'm going to make a batch of cinnamon rolls where I include chopped up candied pecans that I made. So this doesn't need to go in the fridge to set or anything like that. We're using this to make our cinnamon rolls really, really soft. So once you have it just kind of mixed together, it'll start to thicken a little bit on its own, but you don't need to put it in the fridge or anything like that. Just set it aside. So here is that melted stick of butter. We're going to pour that right into the pudding. I know it seems mentally strange. Why am I putting butter into the pudding? That's what you're going to do, and mix it in. And then we're going to put in 2 eggs and mix those in as well. Okay, so 2 eggs. 1, 2. Mix that in. Okay, so next we're going to add 1 teaspoon of salt. It feels strange to be adding salt into pudding. I promise it's good. So stir that up. Then we're going to go back and get our yeast, and we're going to mix that in as well. You can tell our yeast is living the dream here. So we're going to let him grow. Make sure you get all that sugar out of the bottom. It tends to sink. There we go. Then just mix all that together. Next, we're going to measure in 6 cups of flour, plus a little bit extra depending on the climate you're in. You don't want it too sticky, but you don't want it too moist either. So 6 cups of flour, we'll start there, have a little extra on hand. I keep these containers on my counter. It is so much easier than hauling out the big bag. I buy everything in bulk, and so it just makes it that much easier to not have some sad, flimsy bag that I'm fighting with all the time. And then I fill it up like once a week. Okay, that's 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then I usually keep like an extra half a cup just in case. So make a little well in the middle, and you're gonna add your wet mixture into your dry mixture. Did you get all of it there? Okay, now I've already taken my rings off because we're about to knead some dough here. If you've never kneaded dough by hand, you can use your KitchenAid mixer. A lot of people do. I prefer to do things by hand, and it's not that hard to do it. I'll show you how to do it. We want our dough soft but not sticky. So that's the texture we're looking for. So once this reaches a little more of a ball that you can actually work with, we'll put it onto the counter. So if you're preparing these for something that's coming up, maybe you have company coming in, we always make these the night before Christmas and the night before Thanksgiving because my husband and son love them. And there's something that's really easy to make. Once you have them all cut up and in a pan, you can either set them aside and let them rise and then cook them right from there, or you can do like I do, get it all done, cut them up, put them in a pan, and then cover them, and then put them in the fridge overnight. Then in the morning, all you have to do is take them out, let them warm up to room temperature and rise a little bit, and cook them. So there's nothing on your part. So usually what happens is everyone gets up Christmas morning, and I just go grab the cinnamon rolls, and I stick them on a heating pad with a towel over them, and I just let them sit there and warm up on like a low heat while everyone opens their gifts. And then by the time everybody's done, I just put them in the oven, and it's just a little bit of time, and then we have nice, warm, fresh cinnamon rolls Christmas morning. So this little guy is one of my favorites. Just makes it easier to sprinkle in your flour. So we'll dump this onto the counter here. She's kind of a messy dough right now, but we'll get it handled. Okay, so you want to get your hands a little bit floured since it will be stickier. You don't want it to stick too much, and you've got your little extra bit of flour on hand like we talked about. So just get everything off the spoon the best you can. I took off my wedding ring because the dough will get stuck in there. Okay, so I'm definitely sticky. So start off, you just kind of fold it, and that's really what we're going to do here. Fold it towards you, and then you're just going to kind of turn it. And if it feels sticky or stuck underneath, add a little more flour down there. Fold it away from you, fold it in on both sides, and then fold it towards you. And we're just going to kind of keep doing that. That works in the flour. It just gets everything so everything's even. There's no weird sticky bits. So folding away from you, folding in, and you can kind of turn it. I promise it'll just start to kind of come naturally after a little while. I remember kneading dough for the first time as an adult and feeling like, I am positive I'm doing this wrong. I probably was. I'm going to keep on kneading, and I think this is about what we want. It's not so sticky anymore, but it's still soft. What you don't want is super dry either. That's the whole reason we added all the pudding and butter to keep everything moist and delicious. Another favorite kitchen item is this little scraper guy. Lets you get anything you kind of left behind under there. It's also really good for cleaning your counter once you're done kneading sticky dough. There we go. That looks good. Perfect. Pops right back up. That's what we want. Okay, so now we're going to put this in a greased bowl, cover it, and let it rise until it's doubled in size. All right, so we're going to grease this bowl, and we will get that dough put in there, and we'll cover it and let it rise. Now, our yeast was going pretty fast. I think the climate is appropriate for it, but it's pretty hot here. So it shouldn't take long. Usually it's about an hour before it doubles in size. So put it in that bowl, and then flip it once so the whole thing's got a little bit of grease on it. Just cover it, and we'll set it aside in a warm place. If for some reason you're in a hurry or you didn't make these the night before, what you can do is you can preheat your oven to about 150 or 200 degrees and then just turn it off. Open the oven door for like 5 minutes and then stick this inside. Leave the door cracked. It shouldn't cook it. It should just give it a nice warm environment for that yeast and sugar to react, and it should cut your rise time in half.
So once your dough has risen, punch it down. And my tip for dealing with very, very sticky dough on a surface is rather than to use flour, I use cooking spray, and it just helps it to move around a little bit easier, especially since we're going to roll this up later. So you want to roll this out into a 34 by 21 inch rectangle. I say that kind of loosely here. Just do the best you can on the shape. You just want to get it super duper long and pretty wide so you can roll it up. It doesn't have to be exactly perfectly 34 by 21, but do your best. And so that's what I did here, just doing your best to roll it into a rectangle. So just play with it. You'll be able to tell which parts are a little bit too thick, which parts are a little bit too thin. And I should have moved my camera better for you so you could see it, but this is basically what it is. I don't know if you noticed, but I also did grease my rolling pin, and I love this rolling pin that I got. I'll link that here for you guys, but it makes it where if you don't have the little handles on the ends, you can use the entire length of it to roll out a lot more of your dough without getting the weird lines you sometimes get from a traditional rolling pin. So you're going to melt 1 cup of butter, and you're going to mix in 2 tablespoons of cinnamon and 2 cups of brown sugar. It really should be brown sugar here. I used to use white sugar. It just doesn't have the same kind of caramely texture to it. So brown sugar is where it's at. Just pour it all out here. I was trying to not just dump it all in the center. Sometimes that does not turn out as it should. But I did melt it here, and I've had questions about this in the past, like, does it become too runny if you're melting the butter rather than letting it soften? I prefer this so much more. When I've used softened butter in the past, it just does not go on like it should. So what I do is I melt the butter, and then I give it a few minutes to cool before I pour it on here. It gives it a chance to thicken up just a little bit, but not be so thick that you're like pulling at your dough as you spread it around. Okay, so just spread that around so it's evenly distributed. And then I went ahead and sprayed my pan as well, since this does create kind of a caramel as it cooks. And then starting at your shorter end, the 21-inch length, you're just going to slowly roll this up. I used my handy dandy little scraper guy to get it going and make sure that none of the dough left behind on the counter, and it all just rolled together really, really nice. And you're going to try and get that as tight as you can so that you have pretty little swirls. Even if they don't turn out perfectly circular, you've not done it before, and they don't have that nice little beautiful pattern in the center. They definitely should, no matter how tight you roll them. But if they're not perfect looking, I promise they're still going to taste good. And I don't know anybody that says no to a cinnamon roll. When I brought these into church that Sunday, every single person, including the people who are like workout junkies, walked past and said, ooh, cinnamon rolls, because everybody loves a cinnamon roll. So I kind of went off camera here, again, just so long. I should have turned it the other way. So I moved it up here so you guys can see it, and then just kind of make sure it's shaped into like a really nice roll. And then what you're going to do is you're going to use a sharp knife, and you're going to cut about 1.5 inches in thickness. And so the first little end piece, I usually put these in with the kind of unattractive butt side down with the nice cinnamon swirl sticking up. So about 1.5 inch cuts to 2 inches. And then there, see, that one's a little bit better. Love that. Okay, so then you're going to cover them and let them rise again. This is the next morning. I had them in the fridge, and I'm going to let them warm up. So you can either turn your stove to 170 degrees and then put those in there and turn the stove off to rise, or I use my heating pad. I turn it on and I just put them underneath both of the pans, and then I usually lay like a towel over the top of it to kind of keep the heat in. So that's my trick for those. Then when they are all risen and ready to go, you're going to set your oven to 350 degrees. Let them cook for 20 to 25 minutes, and they will come out this beautiful brown. I usually check the ones in the center to make sure they're cooked all the way through. If not, you can cover them in foil so they don't continue to brown, and that way they'll still cook, but they won't brown too much. But here they are. Aren't they lovely? I'm so happy. These tasted absolutely incredible. Don't forget to pick up your free recipe that is linked in my bio. Tomorrow I will have that cream cheese frosting recipe for you. I'm going to show it to you right here. And I also have a really easy glaze because not everybody loves a cream cheese frosting. So I will have that recipe for you tomorrow as well. And here it is. Doesn't she look lovely? Oh my gosh. And when I tell you, of course, this warm cinnamon roll with this delicious, slightly gooey cream cheese frosting was amazing. Oh, so good. Let me know what you think in the comments. Once you've made these, they reheat really, really well, and they freeze beautifully.